Task for today is to complete the installation of the aero catches. So these are the catches. They're actually made of plastic. Obviously I've got to cut the body, the bonnet. I'm dreading this actually. I've got to cut the bonnet to take this, and you use that as the sort of that's the plate that goes the other side, and I can use that as a template, and you can see that I've put white marks where the pin comes. So the pin should go up through there. Before I start, let's talk about a couple of mistakes I made. The first one was that I had this pin quite high. This is in the position it's got to be, wound all the way to the bottom. But I had it quite high, and because of the angle of the bonnet and the angle of this cross piece here, it meant that the pin was actually touching the bonnet at the wrong point. So when I drilled the hole, it was not very accurate. On top of that, I actually drilled the hole before I'd cut away this metal. So I marked what was another piece of metal that went across here, and that obviously is not on the surface, the actual bonnet surface. So again, it introduced an inaccuracy, and unfortunately you have to be quite close with the tolerances here, because the pin has to go through this gap here, and as you can see, if you compare that to the width of the pin, there's not a great deal of difference. So there's not much opportunity for much of a tolerance. So we'll try and do a better job with the next one. The other advantage I have this time is that I'm using a Dremel to do all the cutting. I did the initial cuts on the other side with a standard disc cutter, and it's way too big, and too sort of not very selective in what it cuts. So we'll try and get a better job this time. So I'm going to start by using the bottom piece of the aero catch as a template. Now, going by the other side, we need to cut away. Just make sure I've got this right. There's the ridge. So we're looking at an area. It's not working very well, is it? Okay, hasn't marked it terrifically well, but we can see pretty much where it's got to go. So that's the area that's got to be cut. Okay, I'm much happier with that. It's a much neater job, and I can tidy it up. Now this top layer here is actually spot welded onto a piece of metal behind. So what we now have to do is find the spot weld. which is here somewhere, just there, and drill it out. Okay, so just to explain, I've just gone through the top layer of metal and the one layer below. I haven't gone through the bonnet. And obviously you've got to be careful not to cause a dent in the bonnet. Try 7mm. There we go. Okay. So now we have to cut the next piece out, the next layer, and of course this time the only thing behind this is the actual surface of the bonnet, so you've got to be very careful doing this. Just stop there for a second. One thing I should tell you about is that you might get, I've got a little bit of smoke and you might get the smell of rubber. Behind here, there's a couple of sort of sticky rubber pads. And if you get those hot, obviously it's going to make a bit of a smell. Okay, now I think that's all cut through. But now the mistake I made last time is I put a screwdriver under there and levered it, and of course then I put a dent in the surface of the bonnet, so I'll have to try something different. It was only a small dent, but even so. Okay, there you go. That is so much better than the first time. That's much better. Okay, I'll just have a little tidy up round here just to smooth out these rough edges, but you can see basically that's how I've managed to cut that away. I almost forgot to record this actually. The only thing I've done is, which I didn't record, is I put a blob of red paint on the top of there, put the bonnet down to mark the underside of the bonnet, and then drilled a pilot hole through from underneath on the red blob, and then drilled down through there. So that's as far as we are. I've marked out the shape of the catch by placing this on first to mark the top and bottom, and then I use the underside plate as a guide. Now I know from experience that's not going to be quite big enough, but I'll cut to that size and then I'll just grind back a bit and make it slightly bigger. So that's where we're up to. Okay, let's see how far out we are. Yep, still need to take a bit out. Yeah, down this edge, I think. My disc is getting rather small. I'll try and do a bit more with it. Yeah, gradually getting there. More out the front, I think. Yeah. Okay, that's as far as I'm going to go with that disc. So, one left to go. As I said earlier in the video, you're going to need a few of these little discs. Perhaps this is a good demonstration on how not to do it. Okay. I think what we'll do now, making full use of all the attachments. So this is a little cylinder thing with a abrasive, you know, a bit of sandpaper or whatever. I think we'll just ease it out with that now. There we go. Okay, done. So next job is obviously to mark the holes and drill them for the clamping plate. I guess we should check that this lines up. Yeah, it's either the bolt needs to go back a bit or the plate needs, this locking plate needs to come forward. It's just about there, but it's about 2 mil out. On that. Yeah, I think what I'm going to do is try and move that back a couple of mil and see if I can get it a bit closer to the edge of that, because this one's closer, so that one could go back. Yeah, that could go back a couple of mil, and then I think that'll get it lined up rather than keep cutting away at the bonnet. Okay, so that's the next job. I've elongated the hole, so I've been able to move the bolt across and back. Let's just check it. And yeah, that looks fine. There we go. Okay, so that just leaves me with drilling the holes for the catch, so I'll do that next. The holes have worked out okay, except for you can see I've broken through just on the edge there. That was obviously cut a bit too wide, but that's okay. I did the same the other side. I'll just smooth that off. But the other issue I've got, you can see that this edge here is obviously overlapping too much, and I'm not going to be able to get the bracket in, so I'm going to have to, or sorry, the plate that goes on the back. So I'm going to have to trim this metal a bit further. So this just shows you how easy it is to make a mistake. You can see that where I was smoothing this out with a stone, it's shot across there. Now, I've been really lucky in that this covers up the mess, but obviously that's not ideal. I wish I hadn't done that. So I'll have to just touch that up with a bit of paint. I need to probably paint around here anyway, just to stop any rust from developing. But yeah, you just have to be so careful. The mistake I made last time is I didn't put the the nuts into the bottom plate first. So I've just pushed them in and they're sort of friction fit. There's one other thing. The kit comes with these tiny little washers, and I think you only use those if you don't use this plastic bottom plate, because I can't figure out how else you use them. So we won't be using the washers, we'll just fit this plate as is. That one's okay, but this one needs shifting over a bit, and that one definitely needs shifting. I've got a bit of a reputation in the family for not being able to drill holes in the right place. And that's certainly what's happened this time. So let's mark those. I think everything else is okay. No, that's okay. That's going to go in okay. It's just these other two that aren't right. Okay, so unfortunately I've got to take it all off again. I have no better way of extending these holes than using a needle file, so that's what I'm going to use. Better. Just a little bit more, I think. That one's okay. No, actually, they look all right. Let's go again then. What I haven't shown you is that I've cut away some more of the metalwork underneath, but I'm actually, I bent back the inner skin a bit and I'm sliding this underneath because I was having trouble getting the right angle to cut the minimum amount out. So, right, let's try that. Oh, I think that might be a little bit low this side. I might have to wind the pin up a little bit. What was I doing? This. Okay, so aside from adjusting the pin, because it's slightly too low there, so I need to adjust the pin a bit, just bring it up a tad. Let's have a think how long that's taken. That has taken me, I think this one's taken me about 2.5 to 3 hours. The other side took me 4 hours. So I've got faster at it. And if I do a few more, I'm sure I'll do it much faster. But yeah, so I reckon if you did a pair in a day, that would be good. Mistakes I made, well, trying to use an angle grinder, full-size angle grinder to cut the metal work away on that side, that was a big mistake because I made a right mess of it. But that just depends on whether you've got a Dremel or not, which obviously I'm lucky enough to be able to buy one. The other mistake I made, which you perhaps can't see, is when I cut the metal away, in fact it was when I drilled the first hole, I had a load of metal swarf on the bonnet and I decided, like an idiot, I thought if I try and brush that off, I'm going to scratch the paintwork. So I'll use a hoover with a plastic nozzle on the end. But the trouble is, I reckon a piece of metal got stuck in the nozzle and I've got little fine scratch marks across the bonnet. Now this is going to be wrapped anyway, so it's not so bad, but obviously if you weren't going to do that, they may polish out a bit, but That was a bit of a stupid mistake. Obviously I made that little nick in the paintwork which I showed you earlier, which I'm going to have to take all this off and touch it up, but that was a mistake. For the life of me, I can't figure out a way of positioning the pins in the right position the first time on both sides. I drilled it once, thought I'd got it all lined up on the bonnet, and I still had to move the pins back a bit. And I don't think I know an answer to that. And if I had drilled them this far back first time, I probably would have had to move them back even further or move the catch forward slightly. It's all to do with the arc of the bonnet, I think, and you know. But anyway, they both work. Looks the part. I've seen some people put them the other way around actually, so I hope I've got them the right way round. But I have seen most of them done this way round, so that should be okay. In terms of the gap on this one, actually this one's slightly, I think this is slightly skewed compared to, oh no, they're both pretty similar. It's just the gap at the top is slightly bigger than the gap at the bottom, but hey, you know, I'm not a coach worker, but it's as good as I can do. And it looks okay. You'd have to look quite closely to spot that. So that's that one done.